Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My first two questions are for the American people. America, are you sick and tired yet of this impeachment sham? And America, would you like Congress to get back to work and actually get something done? Because I sure would. Mr. Castor, the rest of the questions are for you, and I would like yes or no answers if possible. Mr. Castor, my first question is important. Did any of the Democrats' fact witnesses establish that the president had committed bribery, extortion, or a high crime or misdemeanor?
Good heavens, no.
Mr. Castor, the Deputy Assistant to the President of the National Security, Mr. Morrison, listened in on the phone call. He testified that he was not concerned that anything discussed on the phone call was illegal or improper. Is that correct?
Yeah, he was worried about leaks.
Several Democrat witnesses testified that it is fairly common for foreign aid to be paused for various reasons, including concerns that the country is corrupt and taxpayer dollars may be misspent. Ambassador Volker testified that this hold on security assistance to Ukraine was not significant. Is that correct?
Yes, a number of witnesses also said the same thing.
Former U.S. Ambassador to Ukraine, Marie Yovanovitch, testified that in Ukraine, and I quote, corruption is not just prevalent, but frankly is the system. Is that correct?
Yes, all the witnesses confirmed the environment is very corrupt.
Mr. Castor, Ukraine energy company Burisma Holdings had a reputation in Ukraine as a corrupt company. Is that correct?
Big time.
According to New York Times, Hunter Biden was part of a broad effort by Burisma to bring in well-connected Democrats during a period when the company was facing investigations. Is that correct?
Yeah, the New Yorker also had a pretty extensive report on that as well.
Obama's Deputy Assistant Secretary of State, George Kent, testified that he raised concerns directly to Vice President Biden's office about Hunter Biden's services on Burisma's board. Is that correct, yes or no?
Yes.
Mr. Castor, in the July 25th call, President Trump referenced Joe Biden bragging about how he stopped the prosecution. We all saw that video earlier today, where Joe Biden bragged about how he told Ukraine, if the prosecutor is not fired, you're not getting the money. Mr. Castor, is this the same prosecutor that looked into Burisma?
It is.
In a similar scheme, Obama Assistant Attorney General said, and I quote, awarding prestigious employment opportunities to unqualified individuals in order to influence government officials is corruption, plain and simple. Mr. Castor, here is another key question. Given that, one, Burisma had a reputation of being a corrupt company, two, Obama's own State Department was concerned about Hunter Biden serving on Burisma's board at the same time that Vice President Biden was acting as the point person to Ukraine, and three, Obama's Assistant Attorney General said in a similar scheme that there was corruption, plain and simple. Do you think then it is understandable, reasonable, and acceptable for President Trump to ask the Ukrainian president to look into the Hunter Biden Burisma potential corruption scheme?
Yes.
Mr. Castor, there are 4 undisputable facts that will never change that prove there is no impeachable offense. There was no quid pro quo on the July 25th call. Ukraine leadership did not know the aid was held up at the time of the July 25th telephone call. Ukraine received the White House meeting, phone call, and aid, even though Ukraine didn't initiate any investigations. Do you agree?
Ukraine received a meeting with Vice President Pence in Warsaw and a meeting, not at the White House, but at in New York at the United Nations.
Mr. Castor, Did Mr. Turley testify in the past hearing that this impeachment inquiry has not passed Chairman Nadler's three-pronged test?
He did.
Thank you. Now I yield back.